Welcome again to Alt Expo number 16, and we've got someone presenting on university, alternative self-education, and help me welcome Joel Valenzuela.
How's it going, guys?
Right.
All right. I'm going to start. I wanted to start all nice and happy. I'm going to start with the downer, though. Keep it dark, and then I'll bring it up from there. Student loans. Who's got them? Raise your hands. Woo! Someone seems a little bit too happy about that. I wouldn't even do for you. A quick moment of silence for you guys. Yeah. Okay, we're done. So, someone, raise your hand. Why are you in school? Yes.
To make contacts.
To make contacts. This guy knows his stuff.
Worth it.
Yes. Get the certifications. What field? Electrician.
I'm going to school for journalism.
Yeah. And so why are you in school for that?
Oh,
That's about it. I'm a journalist.
oh.
Okay, so here's the thrust of my argument. School is obsolete, right? We've been using this old, outdated model for hundreds of years, and it's not really working anymore. And so a lot of people, they spend, 4 years undergrad, maybe more, a couple of years post-grad, and they have nothing to show for but a piece of paper, because the job market's kind of brutal out there. Even entry-level positions, they want experience or something. And, I'm certified in this and that, but I don't have experience, so I wasted all this money, I'm in debt, I have wasted 4 years of my life, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Government assistance, I don't know, it's pretty bleak. So that's the unfortunate problem, is it costs, one thing, school costs way too much. The fact that a lot of people in here have worked all the way through school, right? You guys have worked, some of you guys have worked through school. Some of you guys have gotten scholarships, and it just doesn't cut it. You still have to get loans. You're still suffering. And then, what do you have to show for it? So, I'm starting out really dark. What does school actually train you to do? Like public school, public universities. What is it? I'm talking about in terms of what it advertised. Like, say, journalism. Let me pick on you, Marcel. Journalism.
Yeah.
What do your classes actually teach you to do related to journalism?
I'm basically in prerequisites right now, and I'm still trying to get
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, my mother was a journalist. She opened the first Spanish-speaking newspaper in the San Francisco Bay Area. So I sort of know a little bit about that field. I've done journalism classes before, too. There's really no substitute for actually going out and doing it. Like, think about someone who has a degree, he's going to try, I have a degree in journalism. I'm going to go try to get a job at some sort of newspaper, some sort of news outlet, whatever. And no nice way of saying it. Good luck with that. And then we have people who are independent journalists that just sort of start filming, start writing, start interviewing people. So just start getting the story and telling the story. And then before you know it, they're making content, and then you're good, I'm going to hire you. But wait, I don't have any papers. Who cares? So school doesn't teach you what it's supposed to. It's kind of an old model, because here's what you do. You're a professional in your field, right? And you get a teaching position in, say, journalism. I don't know what it takes to get the sort of position, but so you're out of the field and now you're there teaching. Now fields, they evolve at a very rapid rate, right? New knowledge, new people in the field, the market changes, and then people have been teaching, assuming the curriculum is exactly the kind of stuff that these people had to use in the field when they were actually doing it. It's obsolete pretty soon. They're teaching the same old things that worked, at best, the same old things that worked back in their day, and they're not out in the field actually learning what works and applying it. So they're just, and what happens if you learn rubbish in your class? Nonsense. What accountability is there for the professor? Oh, sorry, I'm just teaching journalism. I got you my degree. It's very critically acclaimed, this and that. And then, where does that get you? Last thing is, a lot of people do it for the piece of paper. What good is the piece of paper? Some fields require it. Some fields require degrees. The biggest fields that require the piece of paper are academia. I wonder why. It feeds on itself. Now, do you actually need the piece of paper for any position, the university piece of paper? I went to an unaccredited university. It's still unaccredited. They're trying, but bless their hearts, they're not accredited. I still managed to land a position at the White House. If you can do that, like at that point, you know what I'm saying? The piece of paper is useless. So now I've just knocked school 3 big hard ways, and I'm sorry to do downer. What do you do instead? Now I've done plenty of bitching about, oh, this sucks. You're paying too much. You're not learning anything. Your piece of paper is worthless. And now I've rained on your parade. What hope is there? Well, school's obsolete doesn't mean that learning's obsolete. You never stop learning your whole life, right? You can learn anything you want, anytime you want. Now, let me just say, one, internet, anyone? The repository of human knowledge. Modern human knowledge, it's all on the internet. Who has one of these things right here? Raise it if you got it. Raise it to the sky. This is the entirety of human knowledge as we know it, basically, or 98%, something like that. The part that matters. You can get to it from here. Go to Google. It's right there. So, one, you want to know anything, you look it up. Oh, I don't know how to play the ukulele. I want to do classes. And no, go to YouTube. There's some guy playing it. There's some stuff you can imitate. You, oh, look, chord, put your fingers here. Oh, there we go. And then you know it. That's, for the most part, you want to know anything about human history, which, by the way, the history they teach you in schools is kind of incomplete and one-sided. You know, the victors write the history books, but the losers still blog up a storm. You know what I'm saying? So, you go there, you can get the whole picture. You just keep going, keep looking into things. You also learn to think critically, because on the internet, there's a lot of crap out there. A lot of nonsense, a lot of crazy, wild-eyed. Anyone can write anything, so it makes you trained to be a much better person at distinguishing bad information. It trains you to be a critical thinker, all right? So you go out there and you start learning to quickly skim through information, find only the best stuff, and only the credible stories. Isn't that kind of journalism? So by going on the internet, by using that to learn, you're already kind of a top-notch researcher and journalist. At least, better than anything else. Oh, let's go in LexisNexis and look at all these cataloged policy papers of this and that, or just, go rogue and you got it. So everything's on the internet, and the other thing is, there's no substitute for actually going out and doing something. Like, the way they say you need experience? I've known people who have gotten jobs because they started a blog. I have no work. I'm going to go do a barista at Starbucks while I get my life together, and then they start blogging and they get successful at it. And even though the blog never directly pays them, well, some people it does, it's that experience that then they can use to get a job. They're like, well, what's your qualifications to be an online editor of a publication? What's my experience? Well, have you checked out my blog? Have you checked my years and years of content I have out there? My experience, even though no one hired me, I hired me, and now here's my experience. My resume is actually what I'm doing. And so just go out there and do it. I mean, name some other field, someone. Shout something out.
Birth coach.
What was that?
Birth coach.
Birth coach. Well, I can't really help you there. Name something else.
Forensic historian.
Historian.
Forensic.
Yeah. How do you get in on that? When you just start writing stuff, right? Start writing papers. Again, your own self-hosted website or something. Your own blog. Start writing things. Start getting them published other places. Again, I write. I've gotten published in a few different publications too. And you start from zero, and then you just go from there. And then eventually you get some credibility, and then you can get hired, and then, as they say, the pie's the limit. Oh, wait, they don't say that. So, if all else fails, if you can't just hit Google, do your own thing, learn whatever you want to know, and then start doing it long enough for someone to take notice, and that is your actual university degree that matters. If you can't just do that, what if there's a missing link? Like, what about medicine? Oh, I'm going to just start practicing on dead bodies and then see what that, dig them up out of the cemetery. No, that's not going to fly. You can't really get your real world experience on that. How about apprenticeships? Have we forgotten those are actually a thing? Like now, because the university system is so ingrained, people are so used to going to school, learning, and then do class after class after class after class, and then they have papers, and there's a piece of paper that says, oh, I'm certified to start learning how to do my job. And whatever happened to the days of, hey, I don't know anything, I'll help you out for free, I'll be an intern or whatever, and I'll just start helping you out if you teach me the ropes, and eventually, hey, you can start paying me because I'm fully qualified to do this because I've actually been doing it. Oh, I don't know how to cook? Hey, you go start helping out, going, cut these tomatoes. No, wrong. Oh, but it was free labor, so you can't complain. And then eventually, you get to the point where you're cooking on the same level as the chef. And then, hey, there you go. You can either keep working for them or you can go have another job with that reference, and then, you know, the rest is up to you. So it sounds really simplistic to just throw that out there, that school sucks, just go on the internet instead. But if you have a plan on what you want to do, how you want to go about it, you can just throw that in motion, and then whatever field you're trying to do, you can get into. And again, without the huge amount of cost. Imagine if you just, all that capital and all that time that you put in to getting a university degree, what if you saved it? What if you saved the time? What if you saved the money? What could you do with that? Instead of studying a foreign language, I'm going to be a Spanish major. Wow. Why don't you just save up some rent money, buy a ticket to Mexico, live there a couple years, then you think you'll know more Spanish than the 4-year Spanish major? Probably. So where there's a will, there's a way. But here's the thing. Don't just drop out because, oh, school sucks, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm dropping out because I'm going rogue, man. Then what happens 5 years later? No, I'm still going rogue. I'm barely scraping by. I have no plan. I'm not doing anything. But I'm going rogue. I'm a dropout. I'm edgy. No. You got to have a plan. If you drop out, you have to have a plan. You have to know what you want out of life. You have to think about how you're going to go about it. You have to line up the tools you have, line up the path, and then line up your resources, and then go for it. Don't drop out without a plan. That's the big message I really want you to take away from this. So remember, school is obsolete. Learning is not. Get your butt in gear. Get your learn on. Thank you.
Yeah, so you were talking about the ability to garner knowledge on the internet, and as a university dropout who had a plan and has become somewhat successful in executing it, I guess my question is, how do you dispel, because you also noted that there's a lot of dis and or misinformation on the great World Wide Web. So is there potentially a method of critical thinking that has been removed from our Prussian model of education that could help you to dispel some of this cognitive dissonance that you encounter on the internet?
Absolutely, and I'm an ideologue. I would call it respect for authority. That's the big enemy right there, is I have some sort of perceived authority. You got to listen to me. What I say is gospel. You read it. You didn't read it for me. It's legit. No. You read everything, and then you figure out for yourself. And that's something that's really been lost in the school system. I know a lot of times, homework and exams and things like that are tailored specifically around your ability to conform to a certain system. And that's just not going to fly. Other question? Yes.
What about high schoolers and not going to high school or going to high school?
Hey, I said school, right? High school is a form of school. The sooner you drop out, the better, maybe, huh?
But what if you can't drop out?
If you can't, well...
Like if there's a state limitation, you could get sent to state care or something.
Then
Yeah,
the individual
well,
take that
let me put it this way. For one thing, I can't tell you to do something you can't do because you can't do it. It's a logical impossibility. But what I can tell you to do is start your education now, right? Just because a lot of people do a lot of their best work when they're in school. Their best learning in school, even though it's not through school, it's while they're in school. So what I would suggest is start going rogue right now. Go start whatever you want to do, start doing it now. And then you're never go. There's a certain mystique to youth, right? If you're if you're trying to think, how do I not offend people? I don't care. I don't care if I offend anyone. If you're like a washed-up 43-year-old, whatever, you're just trying to, like, oh, I'm trying to start something on my own. People might look a little bit more skeptically at you, like, oh, that guy must have failed at what he did, so now he's just doing anything. He's bad news. But people love youth. Youth love youth, right? I'm kind of young, and I love young people. Old people like young people. Everyone loves a young, up-and-coming success story because all the promise and potential. We all have promise and potential, but that's what you have going for you. And when you are in school, there's a certain age that you're at, and that's just the perfect age to just start going. Also, for personal experience as well, learning is the younger you are, the more you want to start learning because it gets harder. Like learning a new language. If you start in your late 30s, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, your first one. If you start before your teens, it's easy. You just flew it in a month. I don't know. Next question.
No, I was just wondering, the Teenage Liberation Handbook is pretty popular among the younger crowd, and it helps to, like, how to have a conversation with your parents, how to just relax and just learn the process of unschooling yourself from the system and, doing what you love to do. So, great book.
Exactly. All right, any other questions? All right, I do. Well, yes.
May I give the young lady a recommendation as well?
Absolutely.
If you can get into a JC, all your credits there transfer in 3 times their standard value. A junior college, a community college. As long as you're in high school, at least in California, they pay for all your classes. I took all my PE classes there. I got rid of a whole semester of school. That's one way to get yourself out a little bit quicker.
Thank you.
It's like that in New York as well.
International Bachelor. Oh, that's good, because that's where I'm from.
All right. Now I've gone through that, just the basic groundwork, some basic questions and stuff. I'm going to tell my story, all right? So I get to actually talk about my life and myself, which I love since I'm a narcissist. Just kidding. I was born in Southern California. I moved at a very young age to the mountains of northern Mexico, and I lived there for about 14 years. And so there were no schools nearby. I was up in the mountains. It was an hour drive to the nearest village of like 100 people. So I lived, when I grew up, it wasn't until I was 7 or 8 years old that we even had electricity in the house. I remember oil lamps. Up until I was 16, we were doing wood fires to cook the meals, to heat the bath bar, do everything we were doing. So the system was not an option. There just was no way for me to go to public school, go to any kind of school like that, live a normal life. And so what do I do for education? So hey, homeschooling, that was the only option. And as it turns out, the best. So I started being homeschooled. I remember in the beginning, it was around 6 or 7 years old. It was on a curriculum. That lasted like a month at best until I just threw it in my mother's face and said, this is stupid, I'm not learning anything. I'm done. And then she's like, what do you want to learn? And I started saying, hey, I like that, I like that, I like that. And I started directing my own education. And after that, it was just, everything snowballed once I started to actually take direct control over what I wanted to learn and not follow a preconceived path. And the more I learned, the more it was, the more you get into the learning mode, the more people are willing to trust you to actually go out there and learn and not just, oh, he's not in school, he's not doing anything with his life. And so, did that for a while, and in high school, I kind of sought the paper route, right? You got to get some kind of a credential. So I did high school through Conlara School in Michigan, through like a distance program sort of tailored to homeschoolers. And I didn't join their program or anything. I just started doing things and submitting it to them for credit, right? Like I'd watch some old black and white movie about the Civil War or something and submit that to like culture and history cred. And then I'd read a book on this, and I'd read Little House on the Prairie and then submit that. And eventually, I remember they had an exit exam that was a no right answer exit exam. They just wanted an answer, and by the way you answered, that was how you can you think? Can you learn on your own? And if your answers reflect that, then you passed. So I got out of high school when I just turned 14, I think. And after that, I was about 14 and a half, I took the SAT test, because, you're trying to get into university. And I looked around, but settled on George Wythe University, which is now in Salt Lake City. It used to be in Cedar City, Utah. It was a very small, very excellent school. that really catered to homeschoolers. And I did that a year on campus and a year doing a distance program. And the other 2 years were the same sort of submit, go around, do cool stuff, submit credit. So submit things for university credit. And so that worked out pretty well because, it took until I was about 20 to graduate, but I had a lot of experience. Like, for example, I needed to take a couple weeks off while I was actually in the program because I needed to go to Romania to go to a summit on the coming influences of Islamization of Eastern Europe. I'm like, I want to go to this thing, can I? And can I get credit out of it? Sure. So you go do that, and instead of reading going to like a poli-sci class or some sociology or anything like that, actually going out there, going and meeting real people and talking to real people, actually learning something. And so a lot of my education was based on that. I initially wanted to get into actuarial science for some weird reason. And so I started taking a lot of math courses and like self-teaching through a lot of textbooks and things, which is really awful. I wish I had those years of my life back. But I got pretty far. And then I decided I want to switch gears, so I went for a degree in statesmanship, which was a lot of history, poli-sci, and diplomacy. And the exit examination for that was a three-part one. You had to do a publishable quality thesis, which I did mine on civil disobedience, because, why not? I had to deliver a speech, again, like this. But like a rousing, rehearsed speech, not a conversational sort of thing like this. And then the third thing, I had to do an oral examination where a board of professors would throw questions at me about anything I said I learned in the last 4 years. Like, oh, I noticed in your thesis you talk about civil disobedience. What's the difference between civil disobedience and mob rule? Go. Or, where are the Ural Mountains? Or, say something in French. You say you know French, say something. And I wasn't going to be all smart-ass in quelque chose. I had to do a sentence. So that was the way the whole educational model worked. And if you're looking for a piece of paper, there are actual institutions out there that will sort of cater to that and give you the piece of paper for your actual real education. Now, I never had any problems with the accreditation thing because it was an unaccredited university, supposedly an illegitimate piece of paper, but seeing all my experiences, I got into just about anywhere I wanted with a little effort. Like, I did the public policy route, I interned for the Goldwater Institute, the Alliance for School Choice, the Cato Institute, I worked at the Leadership Institute, I interned for the White House, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, all with an illegitimate piece of paper, because when real things matter, the right people notice. I'm not saying that all those people were necessarily the right people, but people do notice quality. And so that enabled me to write, and I do write for a living a lot of times. I run the Desert Links, which is a blog, and I got published in a bunch of different publications. And so that was what that was from. Now, at some point along the way, I decided I needed to learn graphic design. What do? You start doing it. So I downloaded GIMP, which is a freeware. See the fist pump in the back? I see the fist pump. Yeah, freeware graphic design program, and I just started doing it, just cutting my teeth on that. And then I need to learn WordPress and web stuff, so I just started, again, the rabbit hole of the internet, going down there, and I learned how to do that. And so I ended up combining those two and doing a few sites. For example, the Desert Links, I did the site and all the graphic design for that. Also, I co-host the Rebel Love Show with Rob Mathias here, and so I've done the site for that and all the graphic design and all the logos and everything. And then, somewhere along the line after that, I realized, I need to learn how to do video. So I started just recording stuff, started looking at some online videos about shot composition, about things like that. And so just started filming stuff. And then I got a video editing program, and I got a job doing video marketing for a law firm. And it's really tricky with a law firm because they have certain legal restrictions about how they can advertise. And so I did that for a while, got my teeth cut on that, and then the time came to start doing a podcast. And so I already had everything ready for half the technical aspects. And then what Rob and I ended up doing is we want to do a podcast, that's all we know. So we get a place. We get a living room, right?
Yeah.
A living part of the place. I throw out my computer and my microphone, and he gets one too, and get a little soundboard, and before you know it, like, we just add pieces on, look up stuff on the internet. Again, the mentorship thing, right? We've had some people like Michael W. Dean spend a lot of time and effort charitably helping us out, get started in that. And now we have a fully functional studio in Manchester, New Hampshire. We have 4 microphones, depending on the day, 3 to 4 camera angles that I switch to during the show. And it's one of the best studios in the Free State community down there. And we sort of decided we're going to make it happen. And then we use all these, again, educational tools I'm talking about, that whole approach to just go in there and make it happen. And now we make it happen. And hey, if any of you want to do a podcast, we know a little bit, and we'd be more than happy to share and just save you some of the headaches, because, you know, we got where we're going because of mentorship too. So seek out mentors. That's the thing. Alejandro, contacts. Is that what you said? Yeah? You know, that's the one reason you're in school, is not to get an education, not the piece of paper, is to meet people who are going to help you out either as business associates later on, or seek out mentors, because people who've been there before who can help you out, who are actually doing that thing in the field. Don't take a class on podcasting from some guy who did it in the 70s and then he's just, you know what I'm saying? Some dude who just did it in the 70s and now he's just sitting down, like, right, he wrote his own textbook, which is required reading, so now he's filthy rich off of that, and now he's trying to tell you how to do a podcast? No. What you do is you go make friends with someone who actually runs a podcast, and you say, hey, I need help, this is what's going on, can you help me out? And if he's not a bad person, he'll probably help you out. And I know I'm not a bad person. I don't know about this guy, but I'm not a bad person. And I will help you. I will help you out any way I can. And the other thing, I was interested in music. I never had the means or whatever to pursue that. And then, was it 5 years ago? I'm done with that. I want to start learning. So I bought an Egyptian lute, and I started thinking. I just started figuring stuff out. Started listening to a lot of that kind of music. Read a couple books. You know, so I started, and then I learned, and then I started picking up another one, until finally I got six instruments in there?
You have too many.
Yeah.
9
Whatever.
million.
6 too many. Is that what you're saying? So for our podcast, for example, I composed, performed, and recorded the theme music, and that's just another thing that I never took a music lesson in my life. Never. I just picked stuff up, figured out what I wanted to do with it, and then start going on it. And you might see me around the campus. I would run around with my ukulele. It's the compact one I take around. But yeah, so whatever you want to know, you can just grab a hold of that and start going for it. Remember, internet, everything is there, all right? And mentorship. Find someone who's in the field, who obviously knows more than you, successful in the field, who's willing to help you get ahead. And then apprenticeships, anyone? And just go make it happen, because the old structure, the old world is very well entrenched. It's hard to get out. Once you're out, that's not enough. They still have all the power. We have to build the voluntary world, and that starts with knowledge. So let's start building. Round number 2 of questions / comments / anything but hurling of rotten fruit. Yes.
I have a son who's 20, and
I'm sorry.
unschooled him. He has educated himself. He's starting his own business. This generation of teens, 20s, early 30s is going to be the generation that changes that idea that you need that piece of paper.
Thank you. I'm tired of hearing people rip on this last generation. I'm going to call them the Bitcoin generation just because that's what I want to say. Because kids these days, they're unmotivated. This is the laziest, most self-centered, all that bullshit that they say. All right? I'm tired of people, and it's partially me, but it's mostly people younger than me, and no, I don't buy it. This is the future. This is the greatest generation, not the status generation like back in the 30s. This is actually the greatest generation, just waiting to happen. We have all the tools to create the most incredible human society we could ever imagine.
I just graduated from Stony Brook University and
Congratulations.
Thanks. $20,000.
Whoop, whoop.
But wait, what happened?
We live like right near there.
Awesome. Where?
In
You know, we'll discuss that later. My point is that I graduated with a degree in sociology, and that taught me nothing. Except maybe guided me a little bit. My professors were awesome, but I ended up apprenticing with an older doula, and they had a small company that they were growing, and they needed an intern. I ended up doing that, and it was just really great to be able to make something for myself. And now I went from that kid serving drinks at Starbucks, and to do what I want to do, and it was a great process. And I just want to say,
Yeah, that's a greday thing. I mean, one day you're a barista, next thing you're a Shire famous comedian. I mean, it just can happen overnight. Other question. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, I'm wondering if you could talk some more about, or if you know about some websites like Coursera that would offer free courses by former universities that goes from Harvard to Stanford to MIT.
Khan Academy?
Many of those places that are for free.
Yeah, let me put it this way. Stay away from the university system, even the shattered remnants thereof.
Okay,
Like,
they can be the worst of the worst, but these people have a very strict, very precise knowledge, and they're the authorities that you're actually trying to go against. And they have not very good ideas, but a lot of books and free information, and you just have to sign up. And there are a lot of websites that you can get up to probably 100 of different topics for free at the moment.
Exactly. And if that's... Universities and the remnants thereof are good for academia and things like that, or, a lot of times history and a lot of things like that. And so if you're in those kinds of fields, going and looking up free university courses could be the ticket. Any other way, any other field, try to get around that, because I've noticed, I've been through school too, I've been through grad school, I've been through it all. There's almost every university course of any kind. I've never seen one that was just pure knowledge. It was all padded with structure, all padded with history and structure and this and that. And it's not. You have to. It's a very diluted form. You want to go straight, if you can, right? You want to go straight to the source, straight to the knowledge. You want to learn about filmmaking. Don't go for a university filmmaking course, even a free online from one of the best. No, just find, for one thing, watch and notice people who do films, right? Like Robert Rodriguez, the Desperado, Once Upon a Time in Mexico director, etc. He's one of my heroes, right? He freely talks about what he does with his film techniques and stuff, and he knows what he's doing. He's a one-man film crew. Just look at him, look at what he said. He says about how he reuses shots to get this stuff done, how he gets props for the set, how he does the soundtrack, and he also composes and performs and records the soundtrack for his movies, right? And listening to people who are actually doing it talk about that, that's the best, in my opinion, the best source of knowledge, other than just observing and doing. It's rare you'll actually want to go to university-style courses. Yes?
Okay, have you ever found that while directing your own education, you maybe left out some areas that maybe a university would have made sure you had as a part of their structure? Did the subject matter go in depth enough as you're following your mentor or traveling or whatever, for you to become specialized?
Well, let me put it this way. If you view education as a career path, as in you're just going to learn this thing just for the career, you're going to be a very specialized person and you're going to be good at doing your job and not much else in life. And you're going to be sad and lonely and all these kinds of very dark things. But, so what you do is you cultivate a culture of learning with yourself, right? You start wanting to learn everything. You watch some TV, again, not a lot, because then it gets to you. You watch some TV, you read some newspapers, you read some magazines. Just read everything, consume everything around you. Travel, talk to people, ask questions, and then you become a very well-rounded individual, right? And university, or if you're too lazy for that, right, you can just go straight to a university gen ed course thing and just write down the topics, and then just go look for them on your own. And then just if you want that base structure, that I need to know about these whole things, and then just go for it. It's all online now, like everything, how to on everything. So pursue that. Yeah, it's right here. Hi.
Do you have any advice for like how to find things on the internet, like other than just like Googling the general terms, like places where you can find that knowledge? And
again, that's a very general question about it has specific answers for specific avenues, right? So Google is a good place to start for everything. It's a good place to start to looking for these places that then you go to find other things. Like, again, depends on, I know a couple websites, for example, if you're looking for tabs or chords or things for certain songs, I can direct you to some that are quicker and better than Google, especially for like Spanish language songs, right? That's something I know. I wouldn't know, there's no like second level Google that I know of that just filters through all the bad stuff. That's kind of your job, right? And so if you gave me a field, I might be able to help you, or at least someone might be able to help you, or you might be able to help you just by a little bit of trial and error, and eventually you got it. Or you can just Google best sites for blah information, and someone's going to have an opinion, and you're going to hopefully find it valid.
Sites similar to Reddit, if you ask a question, they may direct you towards information. So it's like a people-based search engine.
Oh yeah.
If you have a question and they don't know, they'll direct you to where you can find that.
Exactly. I'm a fan of Reddit. I don't know how to use it very much, but I'm a fan.
He's being modest. He's building his own 3D printer from scratch from the most basic level, and he's asked intricate questions that he wouldn't even be able to find it on Google. So sometimes you have to make your own
contacts
thing for the internet. So you can't just Google a question so much. Sometimes you have to ask it.
Yeah, and let me just.
As far as college courses, there was a course I took online called Elements of the Computing System. It's nicknamed NAND to Tetris. Some colleges have adopted it into their curriculum. But it's an example of why you can't knock all college courses. It taught me from the scratch level how to understand logic gates and how that works in the computer.
And I definitely would recommend, if you can find any kind of, especially if you know nothing. If you just, I don't know this thing about this field. I know nothing about the field. I would recommend going to some kind of a course or an online series of videos or something like that. And in that way, the university thing seems like it's actually a good idea. It just try to find post-university things, right? Because the university structure has built this nice, easy path to knowledge, supposedly, but through sort of a bad standpoint and bad information. So you take the new, free, good information and build it back in a similar structure, and that can be good. Also, I would really recommend, when you learn something, give back. You learn something, write about it, right? You get good at something, pass the knowledge on, and not just be willing to answer questions, but create a nice instructional series of videos on something you're really good at, so people don't have to do the legwork that you did.
I was homeschooled my whole life.
Whoop, whoop. Represent.
Yeah, I went to community college for 2 years.
I'm sorry.
It was a good experience. They were not all good classes, and there was a lot of junk in there, but it was a good experience for me to be able to see that. But I've found in my life the most important tool is finding people who know things that I'm interested in. You touched on that a little bit, but that is the number one thing. If you're interested in TV, or I was interested in photography, so I found a community arts center, and then they directed me to the local TV station who was looking for an intern, and then I was working on a live TV show, out of nowhere. And that's really the best way, I think. If you want to get your hands on things, go find someone and just follow them around.
Yeah, and I'd like to point out that everything I'm doing here at Porcfest is talk today, and I'm doing one tomorrow at 5 on martial arts in a free society, because I'm a professional martial arts instructor too. I actually do have papers for that. And then, I'm co-hosting the Rebel Love Show with this guy. I'm on the New Mover panel. I'm doing a bunch of things. I'm qualified for 0 of it. You know what I'm saying? According to official sources, I shouldn't even be up here. I shouldn't be up in front of an audience for anything. But, you know, that's exactly my point. Who wants to imagine themselves up here next year? Think about it. I don't need a show of hands. I don't need to call you out and then like next year, hey, why aren't you up here? No, just think about it. Who wants to be able to just be an expert by next year in something that can go talk to an audience for it? I mean, look at the camera right there. Like, he's acting like he's a professional videographer. He's not, but he's making the change and making the difference and making the content of someone who is. And so, all of you, right? This guy's pretty funny. He's not a comedian, but he's about to be. So, hey, I'm calling you out too. All right, any other questions? Right there in the back.
Any advice for someone who doesn't know what they want to do in life yet?
Do. One, start feeding yourself. Because once you start feeding yourself, I don't mean like, as opposed to having like a, you know, mother, father, girlfriend feed you like that. I mean, start having a job feeding yourself like that. You will cultivate skills, right? And that'll be always your backup. And then just start doing things. Start experiencing things. Start reading things. Start trying things. Go bungee jumping. No, don't go bungee jumping. But go hiking, go outdoors. Go travel to other countries. I see the triumvirate right there of international folk that are doing exactly what I'm saying you should do. Leave your home country. Woo! Represent. Leave your home country. Go do something crazy like Porcfest, and you're going to learn so much about yourself, right? You're going to learn so much about yourself, what you like, what you care about. You know, take some martial art classes. Again, I happen to know a very good instructor. Try doing some cooking, right? Try doing this, try doing that. Go visit this. Go learn about everything. Watch a lot of movies. If you like them, you know, I'm serious. Go to the theater, and then just don't only do the mainstream stuff. Go do some weird indie and foreign films. And oh, you like that? Oh, I want to know how those are made. And then, you know, start filming stuff. Start writing. If you can film and write and do social media, which, by the way, everyone can probably kind of do a little bit of that, thanks to, again, social media. Who doesn't Snapchat? I mean, gosh. So, there we go. That was a rhetorical question. I did not want to see a show of hands because then I'm depressed as hell. So, start doing things like that, and you cultivate skills by doing that, and you also cultivate knowledge on your own interests. And eventually, hey, fashion designer, what if I just want to make enough money so I can buy the best, the freshest styles and just like go out on the town thinking I'm like the shit? Like, that could be a career. You cultivate that. I either become a fashion journalist or a designer or whatever. Do stuff until you figure out and it's not going to be like love at first sight. Like, oh, the first time I touched a video recorder, my heart started beating and I just started getting palpitations. I just knew that was the one. No, it's not always going to be that way. Sometimes it's just going to be, you just find yourself keep doing this one thing. The one thing that you don't feel bad. The one thing that gets you up in the morning. The one job that you are bummed that you have to take a vacation day of, right? And then that's going to be, because it gets hard at some point. And if it's something you just love doing, that enough to just go through the hard times without like a monetary incentive or something, that's what you want to be making your money doing. The stuff that you don't need to be making money doing. Yes?
We've been sold on the idea that public school and university make you a well-rounded person, and the view of what they give you is so narrow. And when you, for example, my son hated math, absolutely hated math.
Me too, yet I got through Calc 3.
And
sorry.
Once I took him out of school and kind of unschooled him, he found things that he enjoyed about math, whereas if he had gone all the way through the public school system, he probably would never have found that there were some aspects of it that he enjoyed and pursued that. That what you were saying about, you know, travel and try everything and do everything, that's what makes you a well-rounded person, interacting with other people and learning what they do and where they live, not what the school is going to teach you.
Absolutely, and I would say the one thing that two pretty good skills that public school actually does teach you. Again, here's where I'm going against my whole central thesis, but there are two things. One, socialization, and that's not something that's taught in schools. It's something that's a byproduct of being with a bunch of peers. And although, if you notice, young people aren't very good at dealing with people outside of their age group, and the same with old people, every age group is better at just what they grew up and heard, right? They're all in the same pen. They all go to the same pen all the years, and that's what they're all about. That's one thing I love about this community here. I'm friends with people, younger, older, people who could be my little brother, little sister, some people who could be my parents and grandparents, and it's not just, oh, hey, Sonny, it's like equal. We're all friends on an equal basis, regardless of age, gender, orientation, anything like that. And I think that's awesome, and that's what happens when you're out of the school system, is you're no longer corralled into this pen and forced to only identify with people exactly like you. And socialization, but you still can't just sit on your computer and learn the entirety of human knowledge and never see another person. You have to go out there. You have to talk to people. You got to talk to a lot of different people. And that's why I would always suggest, again, what do I do if I don't know what I'm going to do? Do something where you're going to be around a lot of other people. Go out dancing, right? Learn how to dance. Take a martial art class, do music, do another sport, do something where you're around people. And then that's the one thing. Anyway, the other thing, and I'm not joking when I say this is a good skill, it teaches conformity. And we're trying to unlearn conformity, but it is a good skill because we're not in a free world. And rebels have a tough time still. And it's important, I think, to have some kind of concept of how can you lay low, right? How can you not just be a raging individual in front of the whole world and then you get in trouble for it? How do you learn to say the right things in the right time, or just keep your mouth shut? I think that's a very important skill that public school does teach. There's I don't know other ways other than getting arrested a bunch of times, I guess, that you can learn that. But and hopefully I want a world where my children and grandchildren never have to learn that skill.
One of the biggest problems, I mean, I don't suffer from introverted natureness, but
Don't we all over here, huh?
one of the biggest problems I've seen is that some people who have introverted tendencies have a hard time starting this route because they have to get out of that comfort zone. And that's a really big fear for a lot of people. What is your advice for those people?
Let me put it this way. Life ain't easy. I didn't say it was going to be easy. I just said it was going to be amazing and possible. And so you have to do some things. You have to get out of your comfort zone. Porcfest is probably outside a lot of people's comfort zones, or rather the road that led us here. For some people, this is the only place where we do feel comfortable. But you have to get out of the comfort zone to do anything in life. And hey, no shame. Don't be ashamed. Give yourself permission to suck at whatever, and then you'll be okay. If you give yourself permission in your own head to go up and, hi, my name is, oh gosh, and just be completely lame, then you won't be that way forever if you give yourself permission to be that way. And so, also, if you see people who are a little bit not good at anything, don't tear them down, build them up. And that's the way you can do your part to help that out. I mean, I'll admit, I've read books on body language. I've read books on how to talk to people because I didn't know. I've read all kinds of things like that about basic human things. Like, how do you not know that? And, well, I don't know. It just, my brain worked different, and I didn't have the same structure of a system, of a school system, that taught me how to relate to people exactly like me. And so, don't be afraid to, take a class on, to read a book on basic things like social cues. I mean, or approaching people, or not being a creep. I mean, don't be, oh my gosh, they'll see that I'm trying to not be a creep and then they'll know I'm a creep. No. Go out there and learn what you need to learn. Once more.
Recently, the New York Times just put a book review out for subway etiquette in New York City because there needed to be a book for that for all the tourists that came in. We're from New York City, so it's like, well, I'm glad that book was published.
Wasn't there a class on gun etiquette here at Porcfest?
Yeah.
Again, because public schools are totally down with teaching about that stuff, right? Again, this is another thing. It slips through the cracks. We have to go rogue and find out how to do it ourselves, and it's not just hey, wait until someone gets shot. Oops, I guess I shouldn't have done that. There's other ways you can learn besides just straight trial and error, and I think we need to be on top of that. Last question. And the question, crickets. Well, I think crickets are a wonderful little animal, but they usually signify the end of a talk, and so I will stop talking now. Thank you very much. Oh, no, don't go away. Why not?
Hang on. We have a 50-50 raffle tonight. We want to give you money, but first you have to buy a raffle ticket for $1.
I want money.
So if anybody
Buy a ticket.
At 8 o'clock at the Alt Expo Lounge, we'll have a drawing.
What is it for exactly?
You get half of the money that's put in there.
Do you have one cousin?
So it's a 50-50 raffle. And
Does it help with the unschooling?
what's that?
Does it help with the unschooling?
If you win. And then a few things that came up in the talk. Somebody mentioned their 3D printer. Let's see, what day is that? Thursday at 1 p.m. we have a 3D printer demonstration, so you're going to want to come to that. This is a guy that's presented at Porcfest before, and he decided to get one and see if he could make money with the 3D printer within 2 weeks or so, and actually he did, so that's interesting. I was on my Mesh network, and I noticed there's a Shire dude on the Mesh network. I've heard of him, haven't met him yet, so I saw you on there, you're on Open Garden, right? I saw the Desert Links on there. So if anybody's interested in what is a Mesh network and how to do that, there's so many on here, I can't find them all. Let me see. 6 p.m. tomorrow here, Mesh Networking. But you can also come 10:30 in the morning to the Alt Expo Lounge, and we have kind of like how to get on the Alt Expo Mesh Network, how to use social media. If you like what you saw here, you hashtag Joel Valenzuela. Do hashtag
At the Desert Links. Links is in cat on Twitter and Instagram and just about everything else.
Hashtag Alt Expo 16.
Where's the lounge?
Okay, it's RV site number 118.
Okay.
It's like 2 tents next to each other that have blue and white stripes roofs. And you'll kind
giant
of see
sign
it.
for bulletproof coffee.
Oh, yeah, bulletproof coffee. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
and if you didn't get a supplemental schedule, pass these around, take one. I know you've thought of another question for this guy.
Well, I'll just wrap up by saying this. Where do you start? Go to Porcfest. Mic drop.
Yeah, we actually have 2 more.